We talked, obviously, Keith, about a lot of the positives, and, Falkirk were excellent. Celtic obviously got through. A lot of the comments we've had today on Record Sports social media channels has been pretty negative in a Celtic sense, particularly for 2 or 3 of the fringe players that were playing yesterday, and it kind of looks like maybe a few of them have played themselves out of contention. I mean, Alex Valle had a comment here from Colin Mathers. Valle definitely looks powder puff. Made Laxalt look like Roberto Carlos at times yesterday. Mike saying Stephen Welsh still starts for Celtic. Beyond comprehension. He can neither tackle nor pass. He's absolutely woeful. Mark Grubb here, yesterday's game showed that Ralston, Welsh and Palmer simply aren't good enough for Celtic. Trusty and Valle need more time, but it was disjointed. And Patrick, Big Navroki must be stinking, training out every day to be so far bombed out that he's behind Welsh. And sorry, Conrad here as well. How bad is Navroki if Welsh is keeping out at the side? I don't get it. One is homegrown, the other cost 4.3 million. You forget, actually, that Navroki cost... That's a lot of money for Celtic.
Yeah, but listen, Brendan Rodgers, I'm going to throw in a tired old cliche. Brendan Rodgers gets to see these guys in the training ground every day. I think Celtic fans, I think they should have learned by now they should be able to trust his judgment on a football player.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind Big Welsh. I think he's I'm not be unkind to say he's limited. He's never going to be a top class centre half, but he's a reliable enough guy. And if Celtic are in need of, throwing, if they've got suspensions or injuries, Welsh can step up. And that's why he would have been first on the list to step up yesterday. I actually think, and I know Celtic fans will be looking at Valle and Trusty and hoping that they come good, but that was the major problem that Celtic had yesterday, was on the left-hand side of the defence, between the pair of them. Not so much Welsh for me, but maybe it's easier to turn on a Tony Ralston or a Welsh. Ralston's another, how many times does he need to prove that, okay, he might not be everybody's first choice fullback, but when required, he can step into that team and be more than relied upon. And I would put Welsh not far behind him in that category, to be perfectly honest with you. What would worry me a little bit was, and you have to caveat that by saying they haven't played a lot of football, obviously, but Trusty and Levi on that left-hand side, there was a cart and horse getting driven through the pair of them at times. And that would be alarming, slightly alarming, because you'd be hoping that there's a little bit more quality there, and it might well come. It just might be a matter of getting them some games, some minutes in the legs, etc. But yeah, maybe the pair of them have not fast tracked themselves into Brendan Rodgers' thinking. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Fraser, you'd assume that Trusty for £6 million will be Celtic's first choice centre back at some point. I know Scales is keeping him out at the minute, but again, a lot of money for Celtic.
Well, look, if his, I'll spit that out and try again. If his coming in for decent money has laid down the gauntlet and the challenge to Scales, and Liam Scales has properly stood up to it. I mean, I thought he was outstanding in the Champions League last week.
Yeah.
The shirt's his and Cameron Carter-Vickers beside him to lose. They are Celtic's established central defensive partnership at the moment. Bit interesting that Trusty has kind of that American international thing going on with Carter-Vickers. I wondered if that had maybe come into play somewhere down the line and they could form a solid partnership. I saw him a few times in the Championship last year, and I did think he looked a decent... He was one of them names that jumped out. I don't know, because it's an unusual name, but he kept catching my eye with his defending. So I thought straight away, I recognise that guy. I think he'll be a good defender. And I suppose, given that the price they've paid for him, sooner or later, you do expect him to come in and maybe partner Carter-Vickers. But right now, it's Liam Scales' shot to lose. And if he keeps performing like he has at the start of the season, he's not going to be shifted. Simple as that. It'll take an injury to shift him.
Well, if that was the chance for Trusty to have an addition, I'm not saying he's flunked it, but I don't think he's done anything that would make Brendan Rodgers think, right, it's time, I need to try and find a way of getting this guy into my starting 11. Scales, I've said it before, looks to be coming on leaps and bounds. He was a real solid contributor last season. but he seems to have had the Brendan Rodgers treatment, a little bit of magic dust. I see, since the start of this season, I think the improvement in Liam Scales has been vast.
Yeah.
And for me, Trusty would have to come into that team and been absolutely exceptional at the weekend. And let's get it right. They lost two goals at home to Falkirk. Not pinning that all on him, but that wasn't the addition that he'd been hoping for. So for me, no, there's no doubt in my mind that in Brendan Rodgers' mind, his preferred partnership at the centre of Celtic's defence will remain Cameron Carter-Vickers and Liam Scales for some time to come.
Yeah. Just in Trusty, to defend Trusty and all the guys that were thrown in for debuts yesterday, it's very, very difficult and almost unfair. Well, difficult enough to go in for a debut when it, at home in front of 50, 60,000, whatever. But to be thrown into a disjointed team where was there 8 changes?
A whole new defence, yeah.
A whole new defence, no cohesion. You just don't know each other's game. All right, you've been training together. That doesn't matter, Joe, really, when you're thrown into the heat of battle against a Falkirk team who are the complete opposite, who've been playing together for years and looked like it, who haven't lost a league game for about 10 years. It's almost unfair to judge him in that kind of debut because he was part of a very disjointed team. And
fair comment, but my point is, Fraser, if in order for him to have planted a seed of doubt in Brendan Rodgers' mind in terms of his starting 11, his strongest starting 11, he would have had to come in there and start and really looked like the finished article, as if he's straining at least to get into that first team, and he didn't do it. That's not to say that, as I said, with some more game time, more time in the training ground, he might well be the long-term solution for Celtic. But I just think there's no need to rush it because Liam Scales is performing, as I said, I think he's playing at a different level this season. So there's no need to rush anything. And I think that Brendan Rodgers will be very comfortable because all that he ever was looking for, all he ever asked for was the quality additions to the squad, which means in the event of a suspension or an injury, I can start feeding these players in and there won't be a big drop-off in quality. And I think, by the way, I think one very valid point there, Fraser, is it was disjointed. How much better would Trusty look if he's playing next to Cameron Carter-Vickers? Because he is a key component. And maybe the next time we see Trusty getting a run out or a crack or a start for Celtic, it probably will be next to Cameron Carter-Vickers. And you might see a marked improvement in his performance level because of that.
I think
Schmeichel, Johnson, Carter-Vickers, Scales, Taylor. That's simply Celtic's back five at the moment.
That's the team, man.
And it's functioning well.
I feel like you've stuck up for Trusty. I feel like I should kind of stick up for Valle before we wrap up. I mean, Mark Fairfield there on Facebook saying Valle makes Bernabe look like Roberto Carlos. Someone in the comment section earlier said he makes Laxalt look like Roberto Carlos.
I remember where Laxalt was. I wonder where he is now.
I know that was a time Celtic fans would probably want to forget about. But just to kind of echo what you said about Trusty, very difficult to make your debut in those circumstances. And as well, I don't think Luis Palma playing left wing is the greatest player at tracking back and doing his left back a favour. So,
and Valle was up against an absolute whippet. But it was the fact that was where all Falkirk's threat was coming from. That channel, either outside of Valle or inside and between him and Trusty, that's where Falkirk were exploiting Celtic. And that's, it's not saying a cause for concern along the lines of, oh no, we've spent badly here, these guys won't do. No, but does it indicate that they're ready to be fast-tracked straight into the first team, to take guys' regular performers out of there, to take their place, to improve the first 11? I don't think there was that. So it'll require more time as Celtic go about the process of building this squad. It is going to take a little bit of time, but they're in a very, very, very good place. And anybody that can't acknowledge that just now is not really looking at it properly.